been waiting a long time to make this video. I had so many people asking about RIMFIRE cartridges, especially after that video where I had all those cartridges, centerfire cartridges, on the table. So I finally got around to preparing some kind of decent board. It's about impossible for me to have every RIMFIRE on the table, which might surprise people, but in the past there were a lot of RIMFIRE cartridges, and I think we talked about the difference between RIMFIRE and centerfire. Essentially it's just where is the priming compound. In a RIMFIRE the priming compound's in the rim, and in the centerfire there's a primer in the center. There are actually two different types of primers for centerfires. There's the Verdun system and the Boxer, but that's pretty specialized knowledge that you don't, I guess, really need to have. Anyway, for all those people, especially young people, first buying a RIMFIRE or hoping to buy one, I set out what I thought were the main ones, and then I had mixed up a bunch of epoxy. So as you can see, I got carried away putting other cartridges, but it's a good idea because then it gives you an idea of the scale of things. And the massive cartridge here, which kind of is the first one you notice probably, is a 500 Jeffrey. And then I try to put a 30-06 kind of wherever I go, just to give people an idea of scale. I've got some antique cartridges. I buy these, or I used to buy these at gun shows from a fellow who seemed to have all RIMFIRE cartridges from Alberta. In fact, his writing is on the side of this cartridge, so I can see that this is a 44 short. I may as well just start talking about the cartridges. That's a 32 and that's a 44 long. He also wrote on the side of those. This is a 9mm Flaubert. Some people say Flaubert. And I have several Anschutz rifles in this 9mm. Just a wonderful, very practical, very slow moving garden gun. Excellent actually in every way. So it's sitting there. You can see how small it is compared to the 30-06. On this side, continuing actually, are some of the varmint cartridges that many of you asked me to talk about briefly, so we'll get to those in a minute. But this is a centerfire. The only RIMFIRE here is the 17 WSM. I think they call Winchester Super Magnum. I've actually parked a couple of those on different spots. This is the 17 WSM. I put it in different spots. That's it here again, and I think it appears in one other place because it's by far the fastest RIMFIRE cartridge, and that's 3,000 feet per second, I think, for a 20 grain bullet. I have a couple of Savage rifles in that WSM, and it's just a spectacular performer. Anyway, again, for scale, the 38 Special. This is the 6mm Flaubert, and there is a 4mm which I could use because I have some adapters for other rifles, and they use those 4mm that would allow me to use them in a bigger rifle like a 30-06, but I can't find 4mm, but they're around. Then we hit the 22 short, so that's familiar to most of you. Again, this is just for comparison. I put in a 25 ACP. I think that's auto coat pistol, as most of you know. Then 22 long rifle. There should be a long in here, 22 long, but I neither have nor can find 22 long, which is actually kind of a nice little cartridge. Here's my favorite 17. This is the 17 Mach 2. Just a terrific little round. Very small bullet. I don't want to go into the velocities and ballistics because something happens with the algorithm on these videos if I talk about that too much, and since it's a mystery how the whole thing works on YouTube, the best is if you just pick up this book, or something like it, and I think I showed it on the last video. This gives you details on everything. If you study this, you'll know as much as anybody about everything that any of these can do. but still it's good for illustration purposes, and especially again for beginner shooters to see the actual cartridges. And in lots of places nobody gets these. In the Western world we have no problem in most countries buying, as far as I know, all of these. Anyway, this is my favorite 17, even though it's the weakest, but not so slow, I think. And the bullet is very small too. Anyhow, 22 Winchester Magnum, that was kind of the first upgraded high velocity rimfire cartridge. Excellent. And then around the same time, but not quite exactly the same time, came out the 5mm Remington, and here's a box of that. And our good friends in Mexico at Aguila loaded a few million of these. They may still load them. I bought a couple of bricks because I have a Remington in that caliber. It's 20 caliber 5mm, and those are impressive ballistics on that round, kind of well before its time, like long before the 17 HMR Hornady Magnum rimfire. Anyway, getting back to the board, and just to review, so 22 Winchester Magnum rimfire, 5mm Remington, and then came, this is the 17 HMR, and this is an incredibly popular round. I couldn't find exact numbers. I don't think there are exact numbers about how many of these are used every year. But very high velocity, very small bullet. There are no secrets with any of these. The performance is predictable. Small bullet, more powder, more velocity, but you lose bullet mass. On the other hand, most of the time your targets are small, so there's more wind drift with some of these. It really, it's a personal preference thing, but this will definitely reach out. But you can see, that's why I put the 17 WSM there. That's a much, I mean, if you like velocity from this, you'll really like the velocity from this. I think it's quite a bit faster, and it's actually a remarkable thing that that Winchester got this very strong brass case, which was previously in industrial use to make a performing 17 caliber. Just an excellent round. Getting back to the long rifle, I looked up how many of these are used just in the United States each year, and it's something like 4 billion rounds of 22 long rifles. So you can imagine how many there are of all the different rounds. What did I do here? I put another 5mm Remington for you, and now we're shifting into kind of comparison mode, and that's a 22 Hornet. So you can see the 22 Hornet easily eclipses even the Winchester's Super Magnum, and has a much larger bullet. The center fire cartridges really overwhelm, at least in modern form, all of the rimfires. They just can do more, they can do it better, the priming system is better. Center fire priming theoretically is more reliable than rimfire, just because sometimes the priming compound can be dislodged in the rim of a rimfire, but I mean, these are theoretical things. And then shifting back to what I said I would talk about, it's one of my favorite 22 center fires is the 218B. This case is beaten up because I've reloaded them a few times, and I invite you to look at the ballistics of the 218B. It's actually quite surprising. The B, which was BEE, like the buck, came after the 22 Hornet, and then this is the ever popular 222 Remington. And then just for fun, I put the 224 Weatherby on the board as well. I mean, it's about like a 22 250. I probably should have a 220 Swift in here, but like I said, only so many things you can put on a board. But there it is. You can see just the vastness of the array of cartridges that are available for a shooter. I find myself using a lot of these just because I have several European single shots. The long rifle is king of the whole board, and I think I must use a brick of the long rifle probably every couple of months or less even, and then These were hard to find for a little while, but now they seem to have picked up some steam as more rifles are introduced. In fact, that fantastic Anschutz Fortner rifle, the distributor told me is available in that cartridge. He knows that I like it a lot. Maybe I'll pick that up one of these days. And then like I said at the beginning, I put these in just so people can see, I mean, the obvious incredible power of the larger centerfire rounds. And this isn't even the biggest one, although that's one of my favorites. So anyhow, I hope that's useful. I generally don't like having a whole pile of numbers to recite, partly because I make mistakes, and a lot of people know these things better than I do anyway, and I can always refer to a book. But this probably covers some or most of them. Oh yeah, this is a mystery here. I think I got overzealous with the glue. I think that's just a 4440 centerfire, but I don't know. I don't want to break it off right now, and it's all epoxy this time. Last time I used some kind of weak glue, and then coming out of the studio, all my cartridges were falling all over the place. So this is, well, not all of them. Some of them are just balanced here, but most of them are epoxied. Oh, and these 25 ACPs, that's a great little round if you happen to pick up a handgun in this caliber. It's not to be underestimated. It's a lovely little round. I wish they made a rifle in it, but I can't find one so far. Anyhow, as usual, thank you very much for watching. I hope you're all doing okay out there. And we'll see you on the next video, which will be coming very soon. Take care until then. Bye.